What's good, everybody? How has everyone been? It is currently Thursday. Hope everyone's trading week has been going well. Just wanted to make a quick video on a trade recap of this setup that I took today. Yesterday, it was a 2.5R setup, and today was 3R. So blessed and grateful for these setups, but let's get straight into it. Here are the executions right here on Alpha Trader. You know what? I'm getting used to Alpha Trader. It was pretty clean today, not gonna lie. Okay, so let's hit the replay here. I got on like central time right before 2 o'clock. See what I was looking at here. All right, so this was what I was looking at going into the trade. Honestly, I didn't wake up in time for New York sesh. I woke up at like 8 o'clock, pulled up TradingView on my phone, and then I looked at the market conditions and I was like, all right, how does this look? I think we're like somewhere up here. And I was like, you know what? I'm going back to sleep. Like, I'll just trade PM sesh. Hopefully, like, I'll be patient. Hopefully, there's a better setup. Then, hopefully, the conditions look right. Like detaching from the charts. That's what I've been really working on lately. Patience, not rushing the process, trying to make money every day. Just trusting the process. So if you look at where NQ was at the time, classic all-time high story. So basically it's just a matter of determining where are your ideal points to long off of. Looking at liquidity below that we're trying to take out before we continue upwards into all-time highs, right? So I started from the lower time frame up to the higher time frame, looking at every leg, looking at what I want to get swept before I look for a long. So the whole concept is that we're in an uptrend like this. We want to see a pullback to around the 50% of a bullish leg. And then we take this long right here, right? And then we take a long right here, like that. Something like this. Like price will usually pull back if this is the swing low and right here is the swing high. We'll pull back around somewhere the 50%. The deeper the retracement, the better. And that's my perspective or my personal way of reading the charts. Especially when you know that there's some sort of drawn liquidity up here. Then the market's just going to hit an uptrend towards it. So you wait for a good pullback and hit the long when you get a good confirmation. And my confirmation that I use is IFEGs. So you know the trend, you know the drawn liquidity. Now you just got to wait for and determine with your own discretion what's a good enough pullback. So I start on the 5-minute, going from lower time frame to higher time frame, usually starting from the 5-minute. And what do I see on NQ? Starting from this leg right here, like this. Then the most obvious one, so pulling out my fib right here, swing low to swing high. What matches up well is this 0.618 with this 5-minute low right here. And then even like OTE, there's not really a low. There's this one right here, but it's not as ideal. So I mark out the 0.618 low right here. So basically it's one of the points of interest that I can see coming to sweep that and then continuing higher. And so I went one by one. So 5-minute is that. And then when I go to a 15-minute, okay, the most obvious low is this one right here. And so I'll mark it out again. And I mean, it's the same thing as a 5-minute. So they both match up. The 5-minute and 15-minute 0.618 pullback at this low right here, both match up with one another. So I could see, again, the 15-minute also confirming in my head or making me keep in mind more that the 5-minute and 15-minute sweeping out this low right here is a good point to start looking for longs. Oops, not equal lows, like sweeping it completely. All right, and then on to the 30-minute, same thing as a 5 and 15-minute. So I'm really focusing on this 277 low right here. As soon as this low gets swept, I will be waiting for an IFEG to take along, most likely. 1 hour here is much lower. There's no swing low here. It's all the way down here. And so since price is so far away from like any possibility of a 50% pullback. The closest thing to it is this 1 hour fair value gap right here, bullish fair value gap right here. So this is also a point of interest. 4 hour is just out of the picture. So here's another insight on why I think the way I do is that this 1 hour bullish fair value gap right here, the reason why I don't think that it needs to tap this before we go up is because if you go on to 30-minute and the 15-minute, this where the 1 hour bullish fair value gap is, it's already a low that tapped into a 15 and 30-minute bullish fair value gap. It's already delivering off of that. See on the 15-minute and then also on the 30-minute right here. So this is the 30-minute right here. See, it tapped into it, price wicked into it, and then respected it and continued up. Basically, what that means is that it already came down like right here on the uptrend into a fair value gap. It doesn't necessarily need to come down and sweep it again because it formed a 1 hour. You know what I mean? That's why it's possible from this leg to start looking at the next retracement here. It doesn't need to be all the way down here into the 50% here before it continues up. Like this already happened. This part is this part right here that already came down. So then since this already delivered off a bullish fair value gap, the 15 and the 30-minute, we don't need price to come all the way down here again. We can look for it to retrace about 50%, or in this case 0.618, and then continue higher, which would be this low that I marked out right here. Then we could be looking for a long starting from right here. We don't need to, again, retrace all the way down here. All right, so after determining that this is my ideal place to start looking for entries long, I can also start looking at, oh, what's my draw on liquidity? Obviously, one of them is all-time highs, which is up here. And then also you could see that NQ is forming, LRLR right here. A lot of trendline liquidity. If I saw this LRLR and then this is a decent pullback, you might be asking, and then there's also a inverse on the 5-minute right here, why wouldn't I take the long? And again, it's because I want to see an obvious pullback that swept out a good amount of liquidity that I'm confident in, So this low right here edged my ideal one by about 3 points. But then also if you take a look at ES is forming a lot of LRLR here also. I would like to see some sort of signature in price or like an SMT that takes out this liquidity right here, or NQ straight up just taking out this low. To be for certain that if we get an inverse to the upside like this, I'm super confident to go long. But in this case like this, when we edge this ideal low of mine here, and then ES also has these lows in an ideal retracement area, pullback area, when all that liquidity isn't taken out below, I'm not as confident to take a long. You know what I mean? So being patient, sitting on my hands, and then waiting for my ideal / dream scenario to play out, So let's play it out here. You can see that we actually came down and formed equal lows here. And when equal lows is not the same thing as sweeping out liquidity. So that's why I didn't enter in on this long either, because it's less of a percent chance of it playing out versus if it actually swept it out and went. This is actually forming more liquidity. So we keep playing it out here. Price comes up and respects the LRLR, the trend line that's being formed, which in real time made me feel really good about the trade, because it was like, holy, look at the amount of liquidity that's being generated up here. Boom. And then as soon as we swept out this low here, you could also see that we formed an SMT right here with this low right here, this low and this low right here. See, we swept it out, but then there's also an SMT. And then you could also see right here, price, it was swept out right here. But then on ES, it didn't get swept. So SMTs all around. When I'm looking at the 30-second chart, I'm looking at it on Alpha Trader because I don't have it on TradingView. But yeah, when we swept out that low, we formed a 30-second FVG right here, and I just waited for the inverse to enter, and then put my stop loss at the swing low, and then my TP is targeting the LR right here. Boom. And that's how you hit a 3R setup. Again, like over time and you're building your own discretion and market experience, it'll help you acknowledge and see these patterns more often. But to keep it simple, in the way I teach my students, and the way I see the market myself, is that you know that there's a draw on liquidity, you know that there's a trend going on, and then you're basically just waiting for a good enough pullback, and then you follow the trend to the draw on liquidity. After a good enough pullback, you just take it to the draw on liquidity. Like a continuation setup, like you're continuing what's already going on, going towards the trend. And the highest win rate setups is that final push, that final move to the draw on liquidity, making your win rate a lot higher. When you have a good target and your stop loss is a place that price shouldn't go back to because it already swept out a good amount of liquidity. So there's no reason for it to go back down. It already did this pullback in terms of the relative trend. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the trade recap today. It is currently Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Last trading day of the week, trying to push through and end the week strong. Wish everybody luck for the last day of the week. And hopefully I'll be posting another trade recap for Friday. Again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the trade recap. And I post my trade recap every day on my free Discord/community. Link in description, and DM me on TikTok or Insta if you would like one-on-one coaching. Hope everyone has a nice and blessed day. See y'all.